Hi, my name's Dave Price, and it's great to have Caroline back on the show. Caroline, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Dave. Nice to be with you again today.
It's good to have you back on here, actually. Every time I talk to you, I always learn so many new things, and it sparks so many conversations with a girlfriend about, oh, Caroline was talking about this, and I've been telling you about that for ages, Dave.
That's what I always like to spark a bit of interest and discussion.
Absolutely. I'm sure we're going to have this today, actually. So, one of the first things I wanted to start talking about is you're running naturopathic retreat days. And I've never heard of these as retreat days before. Could you just tell us a little bit more about them and who they're actually aimed at?
Yeah, of course. So lots of people go on retreat days. It's a big thing these days. And a lot of retreats are around mindfulness or yoga and that sort of thing. But of course, my speciality is around nutrition and I'm a naturopath. So I created last year my naturopathic nutrition days or naturopathic days, where each time we have a day, I gather a group of lovely people together and I have a different topic, a different theme, so I can share my knowledge and expertise in a very easy to understand way. The whole purpose of the day is to take away confusion about different topics. Like my next one, the one coming up this month, next month in October, is around brain health and how you can protect your brain, protect it from cognitive decline. That's people's are a major worry, but there is so much you can do to take care of your brain through nutrition and lifestyle advice. And I have a lot of knowledge, and I like to be able to share that and give people really practical advice that they can take away. So that's the purpose of the days, is to just be able to impart some of my knowledge, but make it really meaningful and useful for people, so that they can apply it in their everyday lives.
Right. And how does it work? Is it sort of all classroom based? Is it very much?
It's very relaxed. I hold this in a really stunning venue called Cotswold Park Barns. Very stunning venue. We have sole use of it. Yes, there is a very big table, but it's a very informal discussion. So I'm obviously discussing certain topics and information. I give a little bit of research about things, but people will make some notes. But it's very much a Q&A as well, so people can ask lots of questions. And a big part of the day is I make all the food, and it's delicious. I would say that, wouldn't I? But that is genuinely the feedback that I get, that the food is really nice. And that's a big part of the day because it's about nourishing your body. You're learning things, and it is a retreat. So it's a very get people away from their busy lives, have a nice day together with other like-minded souls, very, very friendly and supportive, ask questions, share some information, have a break, have something nice to eat. Um, and that's what we do.
Sounds great. And so these are on different subjects each
Yes.
retreat. So you mentioned brain health. What
My
others?
one coming up is on brain health. The last one I did was very much about naturopathic tips and techniques to, for a healthy lifestyle. Last year was just more of my general naturopathic nutrition. I've done one on digestive health that was really interesting. I ought to run that one again, about how to take care of your gut and all the different aspects to it. So those are the ones I've done so far. Who knows what I'll do next year?
Wonderful stuff. Love it. And it really does sound as though you get a lot out of these days as well.
I really enjoy it actually. Obviously I've got a lot of knowledge because I've been in practice 15 years. I studied, I keep up my CPD, continuous professional development. We're always learning new things. I see clients all the time. So I'm able to sort of take what I've learned in practice, what I learned in theory, what I've applied in practice, keeping up to date, but being able to share that knowledge. Because I think for a lot of people, things get people get very confused about what they should eat or not eat and what's healthy and what's not healthy, and just be able to pull that information together in a manageable way, for people to then be able to go away and use it is just a really nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah, you can see the passion you've got for it. So is it normally just individuals come, or because I'm guessing would this be very much suited for companies?
Oh, it really would. I mean, we know the problem in the workplace, trying to keep people healthy in work, keeping them energized, keeping them in work and not going off work sick with stress. A lot of people taking sick leave, mental health, for example. So it would be perfect for team building days out of the, different way to do it, take a team off site, leadership teams, whatever it might be, just to, again, everything I've just said, but another way for a team to not just have a day out of the office, but and a sort of team bonding thing, if you like, but also to learn a lot about how they can take care of their health, that then not only they could apply in work, but of course it applies in their everyday life, doesn't it? And they take it home with them as well. So it would be perfect for companies and corporates.
Got you. And how are you finding the engagement with companies for this sort of thing? Is there a ready demand for it, or is it
I
sort of?
think there is a demand. It's getting the awareness out there. I'm obviously a small fish in a big pond, if you like. So, there are probably some very big organizations that might offer this sort of thing. The advantage of coming to see someone like me is you know exactly what you're getting because it is me and it is my knowledge. You can see what my knowledge and how I apply it and what I say by I have a YouTube channel, so you know exactly what you're getting with somebody like me. Whereas if you go to a big organization who might have these sorts of things, you'd be getting a member of the team coming along to run it. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's harder because I'm just a smaller organ. I'm just a small pond, a small fish in a big pond. That's a saying, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. And so, are you doing other work with companies actually in the workplace?
I do workshops and things like that. I run, obviously menopause is a big word that's used a lot these days. So I've run talks and discussions around. It's not about raising awareness of menopause. It's for the ladies how you can sail through the menopause without all the nasty symptoms. It doesn't need to be that way. That's my whole ethos, really. We don't need to go have trouble and experience loads of symptoms. If you know how to approach things the right way, you're more likely to be able to minimize your risk of symptoms. So I've done things around the menopause. I've done stress relieving workshops about the techniques from nutrition and naturopathic approaches to how to minimize stress, how to cope better with stress and not be affected by it so much, how to energize your workforce better. So you perform better. Things around mental health as well. Mental health is not just around the awareness that there is mental health, but what can you do as an individual to keep your brain active, minimize the impact of having a low mood, depression, and things like that. There is so much we can do.
Right. So I must admit, it's been years since I worked in the corporate world, but such as a mental health workshop to do in the corporate field. Can you just sort of talk me through that a bit more? Because I'm jumping to old ideas from probably 10, 20 years ago when I hear this.
Yeah, you mean what sort of things, what sort of
Sort of
advice
things
would I
do
be
you
giving?
cover and yeah, how's the sort of approach to it?
Because I would be talking, particularly from a nutrition point of view, about the nutrients that your brain needs to thrive and survive and work optimally for cognitive performance, how the brain functions and its structure, and the nutrients it needs to do that. And I do that in a very simple and easy to understand way. So I believe, and I've been told before, I've got a very good way of putting across things that are scientific but in a very easy to understand way. So that's what I would do, and I would be explaining, getting people to, what do you typically on a daily basis, and then we could analyze that and talk about, why that wouldn't be so good to eat, the impact that could be having on your brain, why that could create mental brain fog, and then how you can tweak it, how to then build up, the building blocks from scratch, how you could start to put your meals together, your lunches, how to pick the healthiest lunch from the menu in the canteen, or if you're going out to buy something or making it from scratch, what would be the best thing to really fuel you through the day, to keep you motivated and firing on all cylinders.
Right. This is far more to it than I was expecting you to say. I think I've got an old-fashioned view of a mental health awareness day being about how you help other people.
Well, and there is that, and that's really important. And there's a lot of that, and that's very valuable and is important. A bit like I said around menopause awareness, I think it's very important, particularly for younger people and males, to understand the impact that it can have on women, and therefore how to be supportive. My approach is to say we need that awareness, but what can we do to minimize having poor mental health, experiencing worse menopausal symptoms, to help you cope better with stress in the workplace? Because you can't take away the stress, but help you cope better. So that's my approach when I work with people and in companies.
Yeah, far much more encompassing than I was
And,
expecting.
practical, practical advice to help people.
Yeah, and that link to the diet and nutrition side of it, I
Yeah.
was, apart from when I was talking to you, I wasn't expecting that to be part of a mental health workplace course at all.
Mm, That's what I mean. That's what I would be doing because that's obviously my specialism in nutrition.
Absolutely, yes. And that's the thing, 'cause there's a lot of focus on the media as well regarding healthy eating. Do you find the media generally is a help or a hindrance to what you're trying to do?
Well, I'd love to say it's a help. I think there are certain aspects that are helpful. For example, because I specialize in gut health, we're learning more and more about the gut and the gut brain connection. And you hear this in the media, and that's great to raise awareness of these things and the importance of these things. Five a day, although I should say it should be 10 a day, but five a day, keep banging on about five a day. But there's a lot of other aspects which are more to do with headline grabbing and the clicks if you're online, because the clicks drive advertising revenue,
Yeah.
which is sensationalized. And therefore, I find a lot of that can be quite scary. I'll just give one example. It's not current right now, but it was in the last few years, which is still very much in people's minds. Red meat causes bowel cancer.
Yeah.
Well, you need to dig into that study to understand the way the study was carried out. Was it really representative of red meat? Well, in a way, it was more to do with your processed meats, and were people really eating vegetables alongside it? And what you do by a headline like that is you then demonize that all red meat is bad for you and you should avoid it. Whereas there is a place, if you're not vegan or vegetarian, there is a place for good quality red meat if you choose to eat it as a fantastic source of protein, great source of iron and other nutrients in there as well. Whereas if you just take it out of your diet, then you're minimizing what you're eating, and then you might be picking other options that actually might not be quite so healthy. So I think sometimes things are very sensationalized, very scary, and that can be quite worrying. I still get people coming to see me now, Dave, who tell me that perhaps they shouldn't be eating eggs because eggs are bad for cholesterol, and can we not eat many eggs? Now that was struck off the list years ago, that eggs are a cause of high cholesterol in individuals, and yet people are still really concerned about eating eggs. And eggs are a really nourishing, healthy food for you, and natural food. But people are still saying to me, well, yes, but how many can I eat in a week? Or can I not eat many? Because there is still this awareness in people that eggs create cholesterol, and that's just not true.
Wow. And this was a headline from years ago.
Years ago, years ago.
And people are still influenced. They read it
Mm,
once, sticks in the head, and
yes. And the same with red meat. And, it's all about everything in moderation. I'm not saying everyone should just eat red meat. I'm about balance, moderation. You need your vegetables. But it's fine for people to be eating some red meat on a weekly basis. And yet people have sort of swung away from it. It's one of my questions on my questionnaire: how much red meat do you eat each week?
hmm,
Very low. It's sort of like, oh, well, we try not to eat red meat, or we don't eat it very often. I think they think I put it on my questionnaire because I think it's like, you shouldn't eat it. But it's not, it doesn't it's not a bad food. What did we grow up with when we were young? What were we eating through the 50s? And look how much healthier people were. then than they are now.
Very true.
Mm.
Yeah, I suppose that's the problem with the headlines, as you say, it's there to sell news or to bait click you into clicking on something else, but no one puts the headlines when the advice has actually changed to the positive at all.
No, don't tend to hear that, do you?
No.
No.
Uh, the way of news and media, unfortunately. But what do you feel is the real stumbling block for people in healthier eating today?
I think one thing is to do with the confusion about what to eat. But I think the main thing that would stop people from believing they could eat in a healthy way would be time constraints and time pressures, cost as well. But let's think about time constraints first of all. So people think I'm too busy to be cooking fancy meals, spending ages in the kitchen. It takes a lot of time to put something that is healthy together. And so it could well be that people will eat a ready meal or something from the freezer or a pizza, perhaps something like that. Whereas what I like to show people is that it doesn't need to take a lot of time. You know, just going back to eggs, I'll often say to people, if you haven't got much time, and this is what I would do if I haven't got a lot of time, if I'm going out in an evening and I want to eat before I go out and I haven't got a lot of time, make an omelette. Make an omelette, add a few vegetables to it, serve it with some frozen peas, a frozen veg alongside it. That's a healthy meal. Good quality protein, some good fats actually in there, things that support brain health, at choline that supports brain health, peas, some vegetables, you're getting the fiber, a lovely balanced meal. Takes no time at all. But then you can do other things that are pretty quick, a stir fry. Now, you might say, well, it takes a long time to be chopping loads of vegetables. Well, if that's the case, go and buy a bag of ready chopped vegetables and chuck it in the pan with some, nice olive oil. Put in some, I like using tamari rather than soy sauce. It's wheat-free version soy sauce. Some ginger, a few chili flakes. I might throw a few seeds or nuts on the top or something like that, and some, maybe a few prawns or some chicken. It doesn't need to take a lot of time to put something like that together. And so that's the other thing that I'm working with people is to show them that healthy eating doesn't need to be time consuming at all.
Yeah, it sounds like it's more just about just the education of what you should be eating, but how to make that easier for yourself and
It's all about, you've got to keep it easy. You have to keep it easy. That was all the ethos. And when I was doing my training nearly 15 years ago, well, it was 15 years ago, if you make things complicated for people, it won't happen. You've got to keep it easy. And I think the joy that people can walk away from when they've worked with me or like coming on my retreats is understanding that they only need to tweak their diets in certain ways and without making it complicated. And they suddenly start to feel so much better and it's so much healthier for them, but it's not complicated.
Yeah, I love it, that approach all around rather than not just telling them what to eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talking about quick and easy, supplements in the UK supplement market. I read recently this is about a $500 million industry, is it?
Huge. It's growing and growing and growing. Yes.
Oh, supplement again because if people are busy and think they're short of time, etc. I can see why it'd be an easy default. Oh, I'll just take some supplements
Yeah.
instead of eating properly. Um, what's your view on supplements? Is it money we're all spending well, or
Well, again, some people, because people are this growing awareness, they need to be healthier. They might have aching joints. They might be getting colds or whatever it might be. And they're using supplements potentially as a sort of a magic pill, a bit like going to the doctors, taking a medication. Potentially, it's, well, I'll take a supplement because that's going to make it better. Read something in a newspaper. Oh, this will help with this and this will help with that. So there was a saying years ago by someone, a medic, I think, I don't know where and when, who said that supplements are expensive urine. Now, potentially,
so
supplements,
supplements are expensive?
yeah, great quote.
Right.
Supplements are expensive urine. And I could be like, well, that's not the case. But just to break that down a little bit, if you're taking things that you don't know you need, then that's potentially expensive urine, because some of these supplements, not all of them, but some of them will flush out, and from toxicity and through the liver will end coming out as urine. They don't all come out that way. Do you know what you need and why you need it? Do you know what potency you should take? Do you know what formulation is going to be well digested and well absorbed into the bloodstream? Do you really know what is best for you? Do you understand what's lacking in your diet and what you're missing in your diet that's going to be most helpful for your specific symptoms that you've got? So people are spending money in good faith that what they're choosing is really going to help them, and wanting to be healthy and wanting to support their own health and help to alleviate symptoms. But there's the possibility that it could be a waste of money if it's not personalized for them and their own specific needs.
But I presume, again, going back to what we were talking about regarding media and marketing, the
Mm.
supplement industry must have a huge marketing budget too.
It depends. And there are so many supplements. I mean, I know this because I get inundated with supplement companies, new brands all the time coming on the market, not just British brands, but brands from other countries that are now selling in the UK because of it's such a growing market. So I'm always on the lookout. I try not to spend too much attention, well, not spend too much attention on understanding every new supplement and every new brand, otherwise I'd never get anything done.
Yeah.
I have to keep an awareness out there of new things that might be coming onto the market, or new formulations of a combination of ingredients that when I think about certain clients of mine, I think that would be really helpful for a specific client of mine. So I have to keep my eyes open. So there are so many brands, and it's not just about pills and capsules. Of course, what's a growing market now are powders, protein powders, green powders,
Yeah.
mushroom powders, like reishi mushrooms and lion's mane and these types of things. That's a growing thing. Yeah, like the protein powders, that's a huge market. Fermented products and fermented drinks. So many products on the market that would probably all come to a degree or less, maybe not the fermented drinks, but well, you can get fermented supplements now, actually. But yes, I won't go into too many complicated details, but it's expanding, constantly expanding. In some ways, that's good because it's great that there's innovation in the industry. But as an individual, how on earth do you cut through all of that
Mm.
to know what you really, really need? That's where it gets difficult if you're just doing it on your own.
Absolutely. I can totally understand that, especially how some of them are actually marketed as well. Yeah, it must be a minefield for somebody to
Yeah.
understand
How do you know what's a good quality supplement? That's why I always ask my clients to bring their supplements to their consultation for the first time. Sometimes they bring out a whole bag of them that have been hiding in their cupboard, and they go, well, I tried this. Well, why did you try it? Oh, so and so recommended it to me, or I read about it, but I tried it and I put it back in my cupboard. But I'm always looking at the product, and I'm looking at the potency. How strong is it? Is it actually going to make a therapeutic difference? And like minerals, are they bound to inorganic compounds rather than organic compounds because they're not well absorbed? So that's where it could just pass right through you and not really have any impact at all. So yeah, so they get them out the bag and I go, that's not really doing much at all. Or they get them out the bag and I go, well, you need 4 of those if you're really going to want it to make any difference rather than just one. Yeah. So yeah.
So if you had to choose just one supplement, am I allowed to ask you this question?
It's a tricky one.
You had to choose one, what would it be?
Well, I think I have to say it has to be vitamin D. Now, vitamin D, we don't really get from food. We have to get from the sunlight directly on your skin without suntan lotion on. And we get very little sun in the UK. How much sun? How many days of real sun? And I don't mean the winter sun because it's too low in the sky to be able to create vitamin D in the body. So it's only really through the summer months that we can do that. And often it's too cold, even if it's a sunny day. We're recording this today, early September. the sun is shining, it's freezing cold. We're not outside with bare arms to get that vitamin D. And why do we need vitamin D? Well, the more we're learning about it, we know it's important for bone health. It's really important for the brain. It's really important to help lower inflammation. It's really important for immunity, all aspects of immunity, both responding and raising immunity, but what we call modulating immunity. So you don't get an overdrive of immunity, that's the sort of thing that would create an autoimmune condition when your immune system doesn't switch off. So vitamin D has a role to play in what we call modulating immunity, trying to tell our immune cells to turn off when it's not needed anymore. So it has many, many, many roles in the body, vitamin D, and we don't create and generate enough of it because we lack sunlight in the UK. So it has to be vitamin D, has to be right up there for everyone.
Right, so vitamin D, if you had to choose only one, and that literally does cover everybody in the population, would be.
It really does. Unless you're a builder who's outside all summer, if you're a male with your top off, do you know what I mean? You might have a chance of getting enough vitamin D and you're not putting your suntan lotion on. But typically, we're talking everybody.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so if I was to ask a nicer question, if you had to choose another couple,
Hmm.
weren't just limited to one, what sort of supplements would you be thinking of then?
Well, I would say most people, again, probably need fish oils. So when we're thinking about essential fats, we naturally think about omega-3 and the essential fats and fish oils for omega-3. There are other very specific fats that we find in oily fish. They've got very long names. And omega-3 has to convert to those, and the conversion is very poor in the body. But oily fish is naturally rich in those, and they help with the structure and the function of the brain, and they're anti-inflammatory in the body. They're really important for cell membranes, nerve endings. How many pieces of oily fish do you eat a week? I'm not expecting you to answer that, Dave, but that's a conversation I have, and people are like, well, I like a bit of salmon. Maybe I might eat it once every couple of weeks. Maybe it's getting very expensive. Some of these, fish is expensive to
Yeah.
buy now. But we should be eating sort of 3 portions of oily fish every single week if we want to optimize our uptake of these essential fats that are really important. So a really good quality fish oil would be next on my list. I recommend that a lot.
Sorry, can I just say, because I wasn't sure you were talking about a fish oil supplement
Yeah.
rather than fish.
Well, if you can eat oily fish, great. But many people would struggle to eat enough oily fish. We're talking sardines,
Hmm.
mackerel, salmon, trout, herring. We don't tend to eat a lot of those fish. You can eat tin sardines and, there's some tin mackerel. It's fine to get those essential fats. A lot of people don't like the taste of them. So it's, incorporate, or you might find people go, well, I like it, but my husband doesn't. So then it doesn't get put on the menu very often, although you could have it for lunch. So people don't eat enough of it. And so I think a vast proportion of people probably don't get sufficient essential fats in their diet. And that's one way to make sure you are getting those essential fats.
Right, if you're not eating the word, just being personal, I actually always keep tin sardines in the cupboard
Right.
because great lunchtime, just put
Yes.
it on toast.
Yes.
I wasn't sure, but they're tin though, and is that
Well, it's you could how perfect do we want to be with everything? Tin's fine, absolutely fine. I've got tin sardines in my cupboard. Great, staple, store cupboard staple. That's what I like to think of sardines. And
Hmm.
why not eat tin sardines?
Yeah, no, I love them, so I recommend that for people as well for me. But so on the supplements then, the
Yes,
vitamin D would be the main one.
yes,
Fish oils after. Is there
yes.
a close third or fourth after that for you?
Um, I'm thinking about the sorts of things I frequently recommend. So I would say probably magnesium. Why do I say magnesium? Well, our soils are depleted in a lot of minerals these days through our over farming practices. So plants aren't as rich in these minerals as they used to be back in the, go back to the 1950s, for example. Um, it's are people eating lots of dark green leafy vegetables? Are they eating whole grains rather than white grains, like brown rice rather than white rice? Because you lose all these minerals when you strip out the husk. So nuts and seeds, they're good sources of magnesium. However, we lead very stressful lives, and our adrenal glands that are responsible for our stress hormones use up a lot of magnesium when we're stressed. And therefore, we can be quite deficient on it. And therefore, you may notice you get other symptoms that potentially could be a sign that you may be lacking magnesium. Things like headaches and cramps, for example, could be a sign that you're lacking magnesium. Low energy, we need magnesium for energy. Magnesium is used in over 400 processes in the body. It's a really, really important mineral and tends to get overlooked. Like with bone health, we think about calcium, but people aren't aware you need magnesium to help get that calcium into your bones. So it's really, really important. And I think it's lacking in a lot of people's diet. And particularly if you're going through a lot of stress in your life or busy and stressful jobs or whatever else might be going on, you may be utilizing more magnesium than you realize for the stress response. And therefore, there isn't enough left over for all these other processes in the body that you need.
Makes total sense. And yeah, the girlfriend will be very happy to hear that because she's on to her magnesium supplements.
Great.
And then while we're on supplements, are there any others that really do come to mind that you think actually most people should be thinking of?
I mean, I could talk about lots of different things, but I think as a population as a whole, thinking about what I just said about magnesium and how we're very busy and stressed individuals a lot of the time, I think taking a really good quality multivitamin and mineral would be a good idea.
Oh, right, just the standard multivitamin.
Good quality. And I won't start naming brands, but the good quality ones have really high, pretty high strength B vitamins on the back, for example. We're not just talking about 100% of your RDA type thing. You're going way above that in terms of your B vitamins to really support your body's processes and keep it working optimally. Brain health, neurological functions, energy production, red blood cell production in many ways. So it's go to a good quality health food shop, let's just say that, and yep, ask in there for a really good quality multivitamin and mineral.
Right. And without, yeah, because I don't want to talk about any particular brands at all, but how can someone tell between a good quality and a not a good quality vitamin?
Well, I said at the start that this is tricky when we come to it. The B vitamins being quite a bit over your 100% of your daily recommended daily amount would be one aspect to look at. And you want to make sure it's not full of fillers, for example. You get a lot of them, but they're not quite pure. They're not very natural. There's lots of other, they're called excipients added to it. So there's a lot of chemical nasties that's possibly gone into it as well. And you maybe it's a bit difficult for me to explain beyond that. I would tend to expect that a lot of the nutrients would have more than 100% of your RDA.
Yeah. Cool. That is great on the supplements. And just in general, if we could give somebody some advice they can take away today that they can actually implement in their life that would help them, what would it be?
Well, just thinking about what we said about time and trying to eat a bit healthier, and that's what a lot of people are trying to achieve. I think what would be quite a good idea is just one day a week, think about a dish that you like to eat. It could be something like you might love chili or a veggie chili, or I mentioned something like a stir fry. So go to the effort once a week to make something like that, but make extra so that you can, batch it up, put it in the freezer so that you've got lots of, put it in bags or containers and put it in the freezer so that when you're busy, you can pull something out of the freezer, laden it up with lots of extra vegetables. And that way you've made something from scratch. It's going to taste delicious. It's going to have lots of vegetables in it, hopefully some protein too. Um,
Mm.
and then when you're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to be late home tonight. Oh, the kids have got after school clubs and I'm back home late, or I'm late home from meetings, or whatever it might be. That morning, or maybe the night before, you think, busy day, but I know I've got my chili in the freezer or my chicken stir fry in the freezer. I'm going to get that out, and that's what we're going to have for dinner tonight.
I love it because it's not just telling people what to cook. It's if you batch cook it, you just make your life
Batch
so much.
cook. We do it all the time, all the time. We make extra, whatever we're cooking. If we're going to make the effort to cook something from scratch, we always make at least twice as much as we need, and it goes in the freezer. And then, well, then some weeks we're cooking from scratch, but other days we'll be getting things out of the freezer. And it's simple, but it's still good, healthy food.
That makes
Utilize your freezer.
so much logical sense. Yeah, I love the idea of it's not just about what you eat. It's that whole philosophy you bring it to actually coaching it and making it part of these
And it's
routines.
a great thing if you've got children to get them to help, stirring things. And, if they're a bit older, they could be chopping things a little bit safely. There's no reason why not at the right age. And get children involved in the whole cooking process and get them to understand. So many children don't recognize vegetables and what they are and see what a whole leek looks like and a whole onion. A lot of children don't know. So get them involved in the cooking as well and get them tasting it as you're cooking it to get them really interested from a young age.
Yeah, makes total sense. And I love the batch cooking. Have you got another idea for us that when people can?
Oh, another idea. Another thing that I love to say to people, because I'm into gut health and the importance of eating lots of different types of vegetables. I know a lot of people do online shopping now, but you can do this if you're online shopping. I actually prefer to go to the supermarket. I like to see everything there. Then you can see what's coming in to season, and particularly going to your local farmers market if you can, and seeing what's on the farmers' vegetable, what they're selling. Put something new in your basket each week that you don't normally eat. Find something that you don't normally eat. You can really quickly Google online, what can I do with this? Most vegetables you can, like you're saying, if you're making a chili or you stir fry or something else, you can easily throw it into something else that you're cooking. Because the more diversity of the plant world that we eat, the better it is for our gut health, for our overall health, because every vegetable has different qualities, nutrients, phytonutrients, feeds different bacteria. So it's a great way because we're all creatures of habit. I'm no different. We all tend to put the same things in our baskets each week, a bit of broccoli, carrots. Go and find something that you wouldn't normally eat and just experiment with it and try it.
Wow, that's such a simple piece of advice, but I can't remember the last time I ever picked up a new vegetable. And
There you go. Go and have a look. Go and see what's out there.
yeah,
At this time of year, there's loads of things, different cabbages are coming in, but there are so many different varieties, squashes. There's nothing nicer than they're hard to chop sometimes, but getting a squash, roasting them, and I like sprinkling fennel seeds and chili flakes on squash and roasting squash and putting that alongside something else that you're eating. It's absolutely delicious.
wow. Yeah, see, I'd have a mental block. I just wouldn't pick something up like that or even look at it in the supermarket. But
Because you wouldn't know what to do with it.
no, but as you
But there
say,
is, there is a wealth of information out there, isn't there, online that you could really quickly Google how do I cook squash, and you'd find lots of different things that you could do with it. And it doesn't need to be complicated.
mm,
Roasting veg is probably one of the easiest things that you can do. just chop it, put it on a baking tray, sprinkle olive oil on it. And maybe, if you want to add a little bit of interest, that's why I like putting chili flakes on,
Yeah.
if you like a little bit of spice. Really nice.
Love it. It's been great talking to you, Caroline. Really fascinating as always, actually.
Oh,
And love all the hints and tips. And I've been writing notes for myself during this, actually.
I'll be checking in on you, Dave, to see how you're getting on.
Next time we talk, I'll give you an update on what new vegetables I've
You
cooked.
can, yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Caroline. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
look forward to talking to you again next time.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Dave.